My ex-wife showed up to our divorce hearing pregnant. She thought it would secure her a payout until the judge asked one question. You ever sit in a courtroom and watch someone completely destroy themselves in real time? Because that's exactly what my ex-wife Melissa did. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. The entire divorce process had been nothing short of a nightmare. Constant delays, dramatic tantrums, and nonsense filings clearly meant to drag things out and wear me down. If Melissa had put even half as much effort into saving our marriage as she did into making my life miserable, we might not have landed here. But when she walked into that hearing visibly pregnant, I nearly burst out laughing. Not because I thought the baby was mine. I knew with absolute certainty it wasn't. But because I could see her whole pathetic scheme unfold like a scene from a cheap soap opera. Melissa was counting on one thing: that the judge would take one look at her, a poor, fragile, abandoned pregnant woman, and force me to open my wallet. Forget the prenup. Forget the facts. Just cue the sympathy. Cue the tears. Cue the manipulation. I could already picture the speech she'd rehearsed in the mirror. Your Honor, I'm carrying a child and have been left with nothing. How am I supposed to survive? All while sneaking sideways glances at me, waiting to see if I'd crack under the guilt. Too bad for her, I don't crack. I don't flinch. And I definitely don't lose. The truth is, Melissa had wildly underestimated me. She thought I'd panic, maybe cave and throw some hush money at her, just to avoid looking like the villain in front of the judge. What she didn't realize is that I was already 10 steps ahead. I'd figured her out a long time ago. See, Melissa wasn't just a terrible wife, she was a terrible liar too. She had no clue that the one question the judge was about to ask would dismantle her whole performance. She strutted into that courtroom like she was about to win an Oscar. One hand resting gently on her belly, the other brushing her hair back like she was the picture of fragile elegance. She even let out a loud, dramatic sigh as she sat down, like this whole ordeal was just too much for her to bear. I didn't react. I didn't need to, because unlike Melissa, I didn't show up unprepared. I was locked in. So was my lawyer, Daniel. Now, Daniel wasn't the kind of guy to shout or slam his briefcase around. He was calm, polite, and always smiling. But that man could gut you with legal precision in seconds flat. I never liked lawyers, but watching Daniel completely dismantle Melissa's antics over the last few months made me damn glad he was in my corner. Melissa, on the other hand, had blown through 3 different lawyers since we filed. The one she had today, a fresh-faced rookie who looked like he still got carded at bars. I could almost feel bad for him. Almost. Because here's the thing, Melissa had pulled this kind of stunt before. Not the pregnancy, but the whole damsel in distress act, the tearful monologues. The "I'm just a struggling woman abandoned by a cruel man" routine. And sadly, some people bought it, even my own mom. Just a week before the hearing, my mother had called me, clearly worn down. "Just settle," she said, her voice full of quiet fatigue. "You don't want this to drag out forever." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "Mom, she's not getting a cent. That's why we had a prenup." "She's pregnant," she whispered. "Do you really want that on your conscience?" I almost laughed. "This isn't my kid." There was a pause. "Are you sure?" she asked. I could barely believe she was even asking. "Mom, she cheated on me. Multiple times. You know that." I caught her red-handed. I took a breath and continued. "The worst part is, if I actually thought this baby was mine, I'd step up. No tricks, no schemes. That's the difference between us. She manipulates. I take responsibility." My mom went silent. Then she sighed. "I just don't want to see this get uglier." Too late. I told her I'd handle it. Which brings us back to that morning. The judge entered. The hearing officially began. Melissa's lawyer jumped in immediately with his sob story. "Your Honor, my client has been left in an impossible position. She's pregnant, unemployed, and emotionally drained from the prolonged strain of this divorce." Melissa sniffled on cue. I didn't move a muscle. Daniel waited. Let them get their drama out. Then he stood up. Calm, cool, collected. "Your Honor," he began. "While we sympathize with Miss Carter's situation, there are some crucial facts we need to clarify before proceeding." He turned to Melissa's lawyer. "First and foremost, who is the father of this child?" And just like that, the air in the room shifted. Melissa froze. She didn't see that coming. She had walked in thinking all she needed was a sympathetic belly and a trembling voice. She thought no one would dare question her. But legally, her pregnancy only mattered if the baby was mine. Her lawyer stammered, "My client believes it is the petitioner's." I nearly laughed out loud. Believes? Daniel didn't flinch. She believes so. Is there any proof? Melissa shifted in her chair, visibly uncomfortable. The judge narrowed his eyes. Miss Carter, have you had a paternity test done? Melissa's lips parted, then shut again. She looked like a fish gasping for air.
I mean, I just assumed. You assumed.
The judge repeated, his voice flat and unimpressed. Miss Carter, is there any medical or legal evidence indicating the petitioner is the father of your child? Her lawyer looked like he wanted the floor to open up beneath him. Melissa turned pale. I don't have that yet. I sat back in my chair, completely relaxed, watching her squirm. She was unraveling right in front of everyone, and Daniel wasn't about to let the moment pass. Your Honor, he said smoothly, we have strong reason to believe the child is not my client's. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder, placing it gently on the table. These are photographs taken approximately 2 months after Miss Carter and my client separated. They show her on vacation with another man, holding hands, kissing. There's no ambiguity about the nature of their relationship. The judge took the photos and skimmed them. Melissa didn't even try to argue. She just stared straight ahead like her soul had left her body. And Daniel continued, we've also subpoenaed Miss Carter's recent medical records. According to her OB visit notes, her first confirmed pregnancy test occurred well after she and my client had last been intimate. That was the final blow. Melissa's expression crumpled. Her lawyer looked at her, realization hitting him like a truck. She hadn't told him any of this. Not about the vacation, not about the timeline, nothing. The judge sat back with a heavy sigh and shook his head. Miss Carter, this court does not take kindly to deception. Based on the evidence presented, there is no legal basis for financial support. The prenuptial agreement remains valid. You will not be awarded alimony or additional compensation. Boom, Melissa gasped, like she'd just been slapped. But, Your Honor, this hearing is concluded, the judge interrupted. Final, absolute. Melissa sat there in silence, the judge's words echoing through the courtroom like a slow, heavy drum. Her brain was visibly scrambling for a way to claw her plan back from the abyss, but it was gone. Her fantasy of playing the poor, pregnant victim and walking away with a blank check had collapsed in real time. Her lawyer no longer made eye contact with her. He stared at the floor like he was reevaluating every life decision that led him here. Meanwhile, Melissa clutched the edge of the table like it could somehow stop the freefall she'd triggered. Then came the breakdown. But Your Honor, she started again, louder now, her voice shrill and cracking. This isn't fair. I'm going to have a baby, and he just gets to walk away. The judge pressed his fingertips against his temples. Clearly done. Miss Carter, he said sharply, this court does not make financial rulings based on emotional appeals. Your pregnancy has no bearing on this case unless legal paternity is established, which, based on the evidence before us, it is not. But, enough. The judge cut her off again, holding up a hand. Melissa snapped. Her head whipped toward me, wild-eyed, voice raised. You're really going to do this? To your own child? There it was, her final play. Even after getting exposed, she was still trying to create just a sliver of doubt, hoping maybe guilt would kick in. Maybe the judge would reconsider. The room went silent. I smiled, slowly, calmly, with the kind of cold amusement you reserve for watching a con artist get caught in their own trap. You really want to do this, Melissa? I asked, leaning forward. You want to go on record accusing me of being the father? Because we can file for a court-ordered paternity test right now. Her mouth twitched. She had nothing left. And now, everyone knew it. The judge didn't even bother responding. He simply turned to the clerk. Journal closed, he said. Done. Melissa had lost everything, but we weren't finished yet. The hearing was over, but I wasn't done watching Melissa fall apart. I walked out of the courtroom with Daniel at my side, my mom trailing a few steps behind. I figured Melissa would stay put, maybe slink out the back to avoid the humiliation, but I should have known better. She came charging after us, heels clacking furiously against the tile floor. Her face was flushed, her breathing erratic, hands clenched into trembling fists. You're a monster, she spat at me. Voice low and venomous. You let me sit in there and be humiliated. I turned to face her, giving her a slow once-over. Sorry, Melissa. Which part humiliated you? The part where you tried to scam the court, or the part where you realized I was already 3 steps ahead? Her jaw locked so tight I thought she might chip a tooth. You set me up, I smiled again. No, sweetheart, you set yourself up. I just let you walk into it. She looked like she wanted to lunge at me. For a split second, I wondered if she might actually do it. Scratch, scream, 'cause a scene. But instead she tried one last Hail Mary. She turned toward my mom. You're seriously okay with this? With what your son just did to me? My mother hesitated. Then she crossed her arms, calm but firm. I'm not okay with what you did to him, she said. You fooled us once. Never again. Melissa's lip trembled. I thought for a moment she might cry, that maybe, just maybe, the reality of everything was finally hitting her. But no, that would have required an ounce of honesty, and Melissa didn't have it in her. Instead, she exploded. I hope you rot, she hissed, stepping forward like she wanted to claw at me. I hope you, Miss Carter. The voice came from behind her, sharp and authoritative. Melissa froze. We all turned to see 2 uniformed court officers standing nearby. Come with us, please, one said. Expression unreadable, her head whipped around. What? Why? The judge has recommended an inquiry into possible perjury and fraud, the officer replied. You'll need to answer some questions. Her eyes widened. Wait, no, that's not, but they were already leading her away, gently but firmly, back into the courtroom. I let out a slow breath as she disappeared from view. Daniel patted me on the shoulder, satisfied. That was incredibly satisfying. I smirked. Yeah, it really was. I didn't follow them. I didn't need to. The moment those court officers took her by the arm, Melissa ceased to be my problem. But I still kept tabs. I wanted to make sure it stuck. Turns out the judge wasn't just annoyed. He was furious. And he wanted to make an example out of her. Faking financial distress. Bad. Trying to manipulate the court. Worse. But lying under oath. That's perjury. Her entire performance backfired spectacularly. Over the next few months, I caught bits and pieces of her downfall. First came the fines, for wasting the court's time. Then her lawyer dropped her like a hot rock. And when she tried to apply for government aid, it got denied. Apparently they also wanted proof of paternity, which of course she didn't have. And the cherry on top, her new boyfriend dumped her. Apparently after Daniel presented those vacation photos in court, the guy did some quick math. Turned out Melissa had been seeing more than one person during that relationship. Suddenly he wasn't so sure the baby was his either. I can only imagine how that conversation went. Although then, a few months after the whole mess had settled, I got a text from an unknown number. It was her. I hope you're happy. I stared at the screen for a moment. Then I typed back, I am. Thanks for asking. Blocked the number. Didn't look back. Melissa had spent years trying to manipulate me, drain me, and control every corner of my life. But now, she had nothing. And for the first time in a very long time, I was completely free. Looking back on everything, I realized Melissa had never expected things to actually catch up to her. She truly believed she could lie, manipulate, and cry her way through life without ever facing consequences. That courtroom was the first place she ever truly got called out, and it was long overdue. The fallout didn't end there. Word got around fast, especially among our mutual friends, some of whom used to give me grief when we first split. A couple had even questioned why I gave up on the marriage. Well, now they knew. The rumors about what happened in court spread like wildfire. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. Melissa, on the other hand, disappeared from most social circles. Apparently, no one wanted to be associated with someone who tried to scam a judge with a fake narrative. It's one thing to be messy. It's another to be publicly exposed as a liar and fraud. I heard she moved in with her sister for a while. No job, no support, no boyfriend, and no one to play the victim to anymore. Meanwhile, I got my life back. The silence was strange at first. I'd grown so used to the constant stress, the battles, the games. But then slowly the peace settled in. I started sleeping better. I picked up a few hobbies I had put aside during the chaos. I even reconnected with a couple of old friends who had distanced themselves during the marriage. Turns out they'd always suspected Melissa was trouble, but didn't want to overstep. Eventually, I started dating again, cautiously, carefully, but this time with my eyes wide open. I never got an update on the baby, if it was even born, who the father turned out to be, or where Melissa ended up. And honestly, I don't care. That chapter is closed. What I do know is that justice for once actually played out the way it should have. She tried to twist the truth into a sob story, and the system didn't fall for it. Not only did she fail to get a dime from me, but she left the courtroom with less than she walked in, with her dignity shattered and her lies exposed. There's a strange sort of peace that comes from knowing you didn't stoop to someone's level, that you didn't have to scream, threaten, or lash out. I just sat back, let the truth rise, and watched it all unravel. People like Melissa think they can play the system forever, but eventually the system plays back, and when it does, it doesn't care how dramatic your sigh is, how carefully you cradle your belly, or how many tears you can fake. It just cares about the truth. And this time the truth won.